All right, let's learn dado borders. So the dado is where you're gonna have that little like groove on the inside of the border, so it fits directly onto the piece, and you have like a little lip on the back and you have your thicker piece on the front. The lip on the back kind of covers up any sort of imperfections and just creates a flawless finish on the back. So the first thing we need to do is figure out how tall we want our border to be in general. This is going to be the same process no matter what type of border you're doing, but you do want to keep in mind not only the thickness of your backer, but how thick of a little piece you want on the back of your piece in the back in the border. These words are getting mixed together. But for me, I want it to be about an 1/8 inch thick on the back, the little lip. You'll kind of see what I'm talking about as I go through if this makes no sense. For this one in particular, I'm not going to have much thickness on my backer, so I only want it to be about 3/4 above my backer. So total, I think I'm doing 1 3/8 for how tall it is. Gives you an idea of how I get to that. I'm going to go ahead and run them through, and then I'll show you how I figure out where to put my fence to run my dados. Okay, now that I have my pieces for my border cut, I'm gonna set up my blade and my fence to be able to start moving for the dado. The first thing I'm gonna do is the height of this blade. I want to be as thick as the dado, like how far into the wood is I want it to be. I personally like to do 3/8 inch, but you can do however you want. Just make sure it's not thicker, obviously, than the width of your board. But I like 3/8 that way. 3/8 plus 3/8 on either side is going to be 3/4 inches, that I know how far it's going to sink into my backer. Let me find my measuring tape, and that's how I'm going to measure the height there. The measuring tape, I'm going to measure the height. I want it to be 3/8. The slats that I make whenever I'm doing mosaics is also just a little bit taller than 3/8. So I'm going to use that. And that gives me about how deep I want to carve my dado into my backer. So I want my little piece that's gonna hang over the back of my backer to be 1/8 inch thick. So I'm gonna put my fence to start on 1/8 inch. You can decide however thick you want yours to be. The next thing I have to think of is how far am I gonna wanna move my fence to be able to make a hole big enough that my backer is gonna fit into it. So you're gonna wanna measure how thick your backer is. For this one, I'm just using regular 1/2 inch plywood. So I'm gonna measure it though, because you want it to be very exact. And I'm actually about an 1/8 inch shy of 1/2 inch here. So taking my starting point on my fence, I'm gonna add a 1/2 inch where I'm at 1/8, so then I'm gonna add a 1/2 inch, 4/8, so I'm at 5/8. So as I start moving along, I'm gonna keep an eye on me getting close to that 5/8 mark. And at that point, I'm gonna start trying to put it on my backer, because before you know it, you can make it too big and then there's like a wiggle gap there. So just be careful with that. Any other little tips? I think it'll make a lot of sense as I start to run it through. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. First thing I want to show is that first slit. So this is going to be what is going to be on the bottom side of my backer. And then I'm going to end up making like a big old hole here where my backer is going to like fit into. And then you'll have this left over, which is the actual border. So just so it gives you an idea. I'm going to run them all through and come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, this is what it looks like on the end. Remember, this is going to be the piece that's on the back of your backer. This is the actual border that's going to sit up. And we'll take this guy, see how it fits snug in there. You want it to be pretty snug. That way it really holds your corners really tight too. And it's just not like wobbling around. You just do your miters now exactly the same as you would do them with the other, the rabbit style. Any questions?